How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here. I'm at Studio A, Sweetwater Studios, and I'm hanging out with JC from Drumtacs.
How you doing, Nick?
Good to see you, man.
Hey, appreciate you having us here.
Thanks for coming. It's great to have you here. You have a very cool product.
Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know, Drumtac is not necessarily a dampener, although it will dampen stuff if you put it in a certain spot. But it does a lot more than just that, right?
Absolutely, yep.
So why don't you give us the lowdown on what Drumtacs is?
Drumtacs are actually a polymeric tonal control tab. A big word, but our tagline's always been, superior sound through science, because there is a lot of science behind it. Our inventor and creator, Christian Beaulieu, invented the product. It's over 6 years it took him to develop the polymer. He does own a US patent on the actual polymer itself. And the way it kind of differs than pretty much anything else out there is that it absorbs the vibration. It doesn't create a dead spot. So the polymer itself, as you can see, this one we used a little earlier while we were getting drum tones, and it's now bonded onto the plastic. And first thing that I kind of always joke about is you don't want to do this when you activate the polymer, because what it's doing is actually taking the oil out of my skin. And all it does is it doesn't ruin it, but it flattens it. So the polymer itself actually bonds with no oil, no residual, no glue. Right. That's the patent part of it. That's the science. What it does is it arrests a certain frequency, and it really doesn't matter anything percussive you put it on. Right. It doesn't deaden it. It doesn't take the true spirit out of the instrument. It actually allows you just to control the tone and kind of dial in exactly the sound that you're looking for. Right,
which could help if you're doing a bunch of different things. What if you don't have a huge array of drums in your back pocket? You have one snare drum. You can kind of get a bunch of different sounds. You can place it in a bunch of different areas. You obviously use it on your cymbals, cowbells, and all kinds of different things like that.
You hit it right there. Cowbells was one of the coolest things when we first came out of the gate. And exactly what you just said. We had a country drummer that loved using a cowbell but needed different kind of variations. So he took the biggest cowbell he had, put a tack on the inside, and then he just adjusts the tack. Okay. Now he has 12 to 15 different cowbell sounds.
Right. Now, before we get into the sound of the whole thing, you had it stuck to the plastic of the box here.
Yep.
It came off. You had to work to get it off. So obviously you can take it on and off of different things and reuse it.
Yes.
And you were talking about it. You can clean it with soap and water? Or how do you? Yeah.
Soap and water, rubbing alcohol, any astringent. Okay. Basically, when you move the tack around, and you're going to move it around till you find that area on anything, cymbal to drum, what you're looking for. But every time you bond that to something, when you press it down on here, it's going to give you that sound. But then when you go to move it, it's going to take up whatever residual was on that cymbal there is now on the tack, on the surface of it. Okay. So you move it again, and the next time you move it, you're going to pull up some of that residual. After we found 5, 6, 7 times, if you're moving it around from different things, the surface of the polymer will actually go flat. Then you take that rubbing alcohol or warm water, dish soap, and you're not gentle. You throw it in literally under the water, you clean everything off of it that you can find, you let it air dry. So you stick it with the neoprene down, the polymer side up. After about an hour or two of air drying, you take the package, or we have a lot of the pro guys using it, access passes, their drum techs will keep them on their pass. Okay. Anything clean in plastic, like what you did before, you stick it back onto the packaging.
And it's just there.
Best thing to do is maybe wait, we say overnight. If you wait a couple hours and this is perfectly dry, when you go to peel it back off the plastic, what you're doing is reactivating the polymer. Okay. It's taking a layer of the bad polymer off that's dead. Now you have, brand new. It literally just sticks to anything. If you get it on your skin, like I said, it's not going to hurt you, but it's going to pull that oil out, and it just kind of deadens it a little quicker.
All right. Well, that's a lot of great info there. Yeah. And before we get into the sound, though, you have one more quick little story about Sweetwater was one of the first retailers to bring Drumtacs.
Not just one of the first. Sweetwater was the first. It humbles me to this day. We had no distribution, and we are distributed by Big Bang Distribution now.
It's lots of great equipment that we sell from Big Bang, for
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
And Bobby and Jeff and the guys at Big Bang got us into the UK and into Australia and Japan, and we're distributed all over the world now, which is crazy. But Sweetwater, and I'm not going to say took a chance, because Randy, who I was dear friends with, from Sweetwater here called me right after he came to work here, and I knew him from Guitar Center days. And when he came to work here, he gave us a call, and we shipped out 1 pack. And literally within 30 days, you guys had us on your website, and it was that validation that, you know, that Christian literally, I think both of us kind of had to sit back a little and go, wow, you know, this was made in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, in a lab that Christian built in his house. Like, and now we have an actual commercial lab in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that is 10 times the size of his little lab, but it legitimately started here.
Good. All right, all killer information, man. I love hearing all those stories about how the product was invented and what the inventors have to go through to see their product come to fruition.
Yeah.
And we're glad to have it here at Sweetwater. So let's get into sounds now. Let's start with the ride cymbal. Cymbals are washy, loud. You could vary the cymbal, the sound, what you're trying to get depending on the style of music, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
let's start with the ride cymbal. Let me hit it, let it go, hear it in full, in total, and then we'll start where you think it would fit best.
Perfect.
Here we go. Now these Sabian HHX Legacy, I think they're killer cymbals. They sound really beautiful, not too bright, not too harsh. So I just want to maybe bring down the decay a little bit.
Yep.
Where would you go?
Absolutely. So say you're playing a club that you love the cymbal, but it's just a little bit too small, and you don't want to ever take away the heart of like I said before, the instrument. Right. So if you put it literally in the bell, top or bottom, right up literally where it mounts like that, you're literally just going to kind of take a whisper out of it now, but you're not going to change the feel of strike. Right. You're not going to change the dynamics of the cymbal. You're not deadening it.
Right. Yeah.
So we've cut that note down now at this point, and that's it. So literally the further you come out all the way to the end, you're literally just kind of creating that little bit of space that if you wanted the decay to quit a little quicker.
Okay.
But you can put it literally, and that's the way to do it, is you just kind of play and get an idea of where it makes the most sense for you.
Okay, so as you said, I'm about an inch away from the bell now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you can really tell the difference.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Sounds like a nice dry jazz cymbal.
Correct.
It still has life to it. The cymbal's still decaying.
Correct.
We do a lot of work in the house of worship settings.
Oh, yeah.
Through Sweetwater here. And we did a lot of videos about bringing down volume of cymbals and drums.
Yeah.
It seems to me that this product would go a long way. Just bringing down the volume of cymbal crashes and ride cymbals just by using the tack.
From Nashville to Colorado to LA to Oregon, we have some of the biggest mega churches, their drummers. One of the biggest side markets that we have is in that worship drumming, because they are looking for that controlled sound without building, glass around the drummer.
Yeah.
They want to control it, but they don't want to kill everything,
right.
And it's
great. I know as a drummer, I don't like playing
no one does.
The perspex if I don't have to, right?
Yeah, true.
All right, so it's pretty far away from the bell now, so let's see what it sounds like. What I do like is the cymbal still decays. You still have all kind of wash sort of at the end. It still kind of tails off.
Even if you take that all the way out to the end, and you put it literally just on as far out as you can go, we have a lot of drum educators in multiple drum kit settings when they're teaching kids, instead of teaching the kids like something that it would have a change of feel of strike, like if they just threw a big towel over the top of it or whatever.
Right.
This setting right there allows them to actually hear the cymbal, but it takes all that high frequency, the really harmful frequencies for ears, obviously that they're trying, and now they can kind of teach in a multiple kit setting, and the kids are getting a feel and they're hearing the cymbal. They're not hearing a thud.
Sure.
They're getting that, the idea of all the different tones and nuances of the kit, and give it a shot.
All right, here we go. While I'm here, I'm going to go right back to the very beginning setting, too. Very cool. Now, what about crash cymbals?
Crash cymbals are great because literally, what you can kind of, we all have the neighbor haters, you know, those, you know, crashes are accents that, you know, but you can kind of change the whole dynamics of that cymbal in a good way by literally however you want to utilize it. It's the same thing.
Okay.
You know, you basically put it close to the bell, you know, like as close up and give it a shot and see what you think.
Right.
You know? And then again, it's just adjustable. And you can kind of get an idea after that first strike of what it's going to do, but it's never going to just take everything away.
Right.
It'll just be incremental differences as you move it down.
Okay. Let's try it. That's a loud cymbal?
Yeah.
All right, let's put it here on the bell first. When you're attaching the tack to the cymbal or anything, how much are you pushing it on? I mean, is it you just throw it on there and it'll stick? Is it good to kind of give it a little bit of...
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because we've all been taught kind of with anything, and we don't disparage any company out there. There's multiple things that everybody has their thing they like to use, but we've all been kind of taught that it's weight. Like we drop stuff on drums, and we drop them because it's the mass and the weight of whatever, or we literally take gaff tape and we stick it.
Right.
So this is, you're not going to hurt it, but it takes about an hour for it to get its full adhesion from the bonding process.
Okay.
It's not gonna, you're not gonna hurt it. So yeah, we tell people, you know, you gorilla it, you put it on there, make sure you push it a couple times. Now we've moved this 5 or 6 times.
And it's still totally sticky.
Yeah, really good. Obviously, really nice stuff here. Right. But we have a lot of drummers that we see too that are using, they don't have the ability to change their heads like a pro every other gig. So you just have to be cognizant of the fact that if you have a dirty head that's got a lot of stick dust and stuff on it, every time you move the tack, it's gonna pick it up.
Okay.
But and you'll know, it's like a turkey baster, like the little popper that comes out when the turkey's done. When it pops, it needs to be cleaned.
Okay. That's a good way to describe it. All right, so let's hear the cymbal now with it on the bell. Now that's pretty cool. I'm going to take it back off. Play that cymbal one more time. Now in the room here, there's a ton more high end.
Yeah.
And the real high frequencies.
Yeah.
Like beyond 20K sort of thing.
Yeah.
Let's put it back on the bell one more time. That is super cool. It just sort of just brings it. The cymbal's still doing its thing, but it just took away that the really, really high stuff.
Yep. Yep.
That's great. Okay, so let's get to the drums now.
Outstanding.
Now I do this thing in the studio a lot. I have a session tomorrow here at Sweetwater Studios, and what I do for the floor toms, although I have a little bit in this bigger rack tom here. I learned this from Benny Greb, one of the great drum instructors and players out there in the world. Yeah. And he learned it from some of the old school guys, and I just didn't know it until a few years ago, and I've only been playing drums for 40 years, but something I learned along the way, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a fantastic thing. I put a little bit of cotton inside the floor toms. And all that does is it just takes away the sustain.
Correct.
The way they make drums these days, the edges are perfect. These drums can ring for ever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's cool, but sometimes you want that to go away a little bit, but you don't want to lose the attack.
Correct.
You want the tone of the drum. So I put a little cotton here. You said your product will not mess with that at all.
Correct. Yep.
I asked if I should take the cotton out, and you said no, leave it in.
Not at all. Yep. The only thing I would suggest is maybe if you are using that method too, is you might want to play same thing with underneath with the cymbals. Probably 50-60% of the people who are using the product now use them on the resonant head, so they don't really use them on top. So I'd love to just hear the difference of using it. It might be something you dig, it might not be.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that you don't really have to change what you're doing now. Not to kind of get ahead of ourselves, but what I would really like to try with the cotton balls at some point is you can cut these into half or quarters.
Okay.
So if you really are looking just to like decrease that small footprint, then you don't need a whole tack. You cut it in half.
Okay.
And then just literally put a half a tack up against, you know, like on the edge of the resonant head with the cotton balls in there. It might give you that aha moment,
right.
You know. But again, you won't know until you try.
Sure. Okay.
But on tops, you know, in the traditional sense, you're literally just dialing in what you want. You know, you're kind of creating the boom and getting away from that wong.
Okay.
You know.
All right, let's get into it.
Cool. Okay, well, real simply, we're going to crack open a new one here, just trying to start going after the drums here. And one of the things that we kind of joke about a little, but we have pretty detailed information on the back of the package, which doesn't explain how to clean them. And one of the emails we still get, even after 3 years, is, what do you do with the contact paper on the back?
Okay.
So the contact paper is actually on there to prevent the actual tack from the polymer of it from activating.
Okay.
So it says right on here on the back to remove it and then discard it. So this the paper on the back here is literally just there to kind of protect the polymer. So once you take this off, that's activating the polymer. And it does take a little bit to get it off. And then literally you toss it.
Okay.
This is, I'm not going to dirty your beautiful Sweetwater studio floor here. But now it's activated. So really, until you're ready to really kind of crack your drums and put them away in storage, once you've found your sweet spots on these, you literally leave them on there. You can put them away in your cases.
Okay.
They don't fall off. The neoprene on the top actually keeps it clean. They don't pick up stick dust. So it's kind of one of those, put it on, find where it works for you, and then just forget about it until it's time to either rehead or store your drums.
Okay.
Because if you're a gigging drummer, last thing you want to do is to have to pull them all off and stick them back on the package. Once they're bonded on there, they're on there. They're on there until you take it off.
Great. Okay.
So
Let's start with this 16-inch floor tom here.
do the floor, yeah.
All right. Here it is, wide open. Now that sound with the dive bomb, I have that there on purpose.
Yeah, I like it.
You know, it has it comes across through the speakers in a big way, especially if you're playing a rock track.
Yeah.
So all right, JC? So where would you place the tack?
With the whole dive bomb, like what you just explained to me, you'd want to, the most easiest positioning would be is up against the rim. And obviously you could put these anywhere you want. It's all depending on your strike pattern and where you like to hit your drums. If you do inadvertently strike them, it would take repeated hits to kind of break the neoprene around. And another little joke we have is, after a while, that neoprene is going to dry, and it does kind of looks like a rat chewed on it.
Okay.
But it still works. It doesn't affect the polymer. The neoprene was put on there by Christian, so stick dust didn't stick to it. It doesn't pick up other variables, but also to make it easy to actually take on and off. So you're not dealing with just the polymer on both sides.
Right.
So it's really aesthetic too.
Okay. Well, here's how it sounds with it next to the, touching the rim a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so to my ear, it just took away a little bit. Again, it's to me, it's attenuating sort of the high end of these drums.
Absolutely.
In the cymbal. So it took away just a tiny bit of the attack, but obviously the sustain is still way there.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, in my opinion, I like that. But again, if you're looking for a little bit more of a, I hate to say thud as a bad thing. Thud in my mind is a good thing.
Totally.
And so if you just move it in like an inch, you're going to see a huge difference.
Okay. Here we go. Now to my ear, with it moved right about there, it took away a little bit of the dive bomb too, but to me in a good way. It's not gone completely. Correct. You were just not hearing as much of that sort of thing in the middle.
Correct.
So that's cool. That sounds really cool right there.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is arrest all of, what's happening. And it's kind of been the whole mantra, too, is that Christian wanted to develop something that was, in his mind, damper or dampener is such like an evil word almost.
Right.
It's like you don't, like I said, that's why a lot of the drummers use them on the Reso Heads. They like to tune them wide open on the top, and it really gives it, like that dynamic kind of boom to the drums.
Sure.
But again, it's 6 of 1.
Right.
It's like whatever is going to work for you.
Sure.
It's a tool, like anything.
Totally. Well, speaking of the Reso Head, as we were setting up for the video earlier today, you put one on the bottom of my second rack tom right here.
Yep.
And it sounds great. So I'm not going to touch it because I think it sounds beautiful. Again, the drum is singing nicely. And it's got a great pitch to it and tone, so we'll leave that one there. Let's get to the snare drum. Again, we're going to leave all these tacks in place, so at the end of the video I'll play, and you'll hear how the drums sound with the tacks all in place and ready to go. So let's grab a new one and
now snares.
snare.
Yeah, and snares are obviously the most aggressive piece You know, because that's really now it comes down to what are you looking for? You know, we all know the songs that we can identify by that first crack.
Sure.
You know, we know what snares to Neil Peart and Journey and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it's so specific. So again, as a damper on the top again, you can literally get it tuned. And we always say, it's not here to correct a bad drum. It's literally to kind of fine tune, you know, a well-tuned drum that maybe there's just that little ghost or just something, that not nice color that's coming out of the instrument. So
okay, so this drum, it's a DW 6.5 by 14 aluminum drum. So it's cracky, and I have it tuned up really high, but it sounds good here. So I'll play it on its own first. Nice high pitch to it.
correct.
But let's see if we can't just get rid of that ring just a tiny bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna reach across here.
Okay.
And we'll put this one in here too. Again, all depending on where. And if we had all day, we could really talk about, we've seen such interesting ways that drummers are mounting them now, cutting them in half, kind of butting them up. We actually have a really good friend of mine, Dennis Liefling. He takes them and he cuts half the contact paper off in the back and uses it like a gate. It was brilliant. Never in a million years would have thought to do that.
Right.
But kind of the beauty of, over the last couple of years, we've seen so many creative uses for it.
Sure.
It kind of started there on the snare, but like I said, the cymbals, and we have people play banjos, want to tighten up the banjo sound. Put it on the Reso Head on the banjo, and it turns it into like a ganjo. It's like, but it doesn't take away like the spirit of that instrument. Yeah.
Awesome.
See, now you might want to let a little bit more. That would be an instance there where if you were looking for a little bit of that ring there, that's where you'd want to cut it in half.
Right. Just use a little bit less.
Correct.
Okay. Well, cool. So obviously, I mean, you can tell that these are a musical tool.
Oh, absolutely.
To help the instrument still be a musical thing and not kind of just kill the sound of the instrument.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's get one back on the ride cymbal, and then I'll have something attached onto every drum, including a crash.
Oh, absolutely.
And you just happen to have another package.
Happen to have another package.
Let's hear what it sounds like real quick. The drums sound really tight to me right now. I don't have this first rack tom or the floor tom in here or this crash cymbal, but the tightness of this unit of drums and cymbals right here was really great. You hear every strike of the cymbal with the tip of the stick in a really clear fashion, which was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, JC, thank you for coming.
Oh, absolutely.
And showing us this really cool project, Drumtacs. I think they'll do well for a lot of drummers out there in the market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so if you want any more information about Drumtacs or any other Big Bang distribution product, definitely just talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer. And thanks a lot for watching this video. I'm going to play a little bit more.
Amen. Take us out.